And both sprouts and microgreens, they're the same seeds as you put inside of your garden, okay, except you buy them in bulk and they're cheaper. There's a few different ways to sprout. You can do it in jars, you can do it in trays. The most common is jars. And they have an actual automatic feeder, which I have one downstairs. It's pretty fancy dancy. It's got a, and I don't use it. I used to, but I don't anymore. But it's got a reservoir of water that you literally attach to your sink. You put it on a timer, and it's completely self-sufficient. It's inside of a plexiglass case. It's got 5 trays. You can grow 5 different kinds of seeds in it. And what it will do is you set the time. I can mist my seeds every 15 minutes. And then the wastewater drains down into a bucket. It's on an angle. And then you can succession plant, meaning you start a set, maybe you wait a week, and then start another set, so you always have sprouts. You know what I mean? And you can do all kinds of different kinds. It's really pretty easy and simple to use, but I don't have the space in this house I would have it on my counter attached to my sink, like plumbed in, and you'd have sprouts all the time. But we're not so big of sprout eaters that we would do that either. We go on kicks of things, honestly. We eat something to death, and then we stop and we don't eat it for months, maybe years, you know. So I have a bunch of sprouting stuff, but I haven't sprouted in years. So these you can both use for sprouting and for microgreens. I might combine the two presentations. These happen to be cilantro sprouts, and I didn't have any cilantro seeds for my garden, so I just ripped open a bag of these and just sprinkled them out on the ground, and it's the same seed, you know. It's just they get to charge more for the other seeds that are in these tiny envelopes, whereas they just, you know, and you got sunflower seeds here, and you know, you buy all these sprouts at the store for $4 or $5 from one of those little things. And you can make, I have actually the math here, but why don't we start at the beginning? I'm getting away from myself. So what you do is when you're sprouting, this is a 32-ounce jar, okay? I started off with 2 tablespoons of broccoli seed in here. But this broccoli seed is old, so it has poor germination, okay? I'd say 40% of the seeds sprouted. There's a whole lot of seed in here that hasn't sprouted. It's old. That isn't the case with all seeds. I think some people are under the impression that each year you have to buy new seeds. No, seeds can stay viable for thousands of years, and they've proven that. You know, they've pulled seeds out of places where they've been in good conditions, and they're growing things that are a few thousand years old. But anyways, these have lost a lot of their germination. But anyways, I took 2 tablespoons. These are broccoli sprouts. These are probably some of the most nutritious sprouts that you can eat, pound for pound or ounce for ounce, whatever you want to say. This little sprout has more nutrition in it than that full-grown adult does. And this doesn't need any nutrition because a seed has been designed to have all the nutrition it needs until it develops what you call cotyledon leaves. Well, beyond the cotyledon leaves. The cotyledon leaves are the first leaves that appear, and then you get the adult leaves that come after it. So it can support itself up through its cotyledon stage, and then beyond that is when you want to start thinking about feeding a plant some kind of nutrition. So it doesn't need anything. It just needs water. People are very afraid to sprout, some people, because they can become bad and make people sick, really sick. But you don't need to be afraid. You just need to do the right thing. It's like anything, right? That's it. The first thing you want to do is put about two tablespoons, heaping tablespoons, inside of a 32-ounce jar when it comes to broccoli seeds. And then what you're going to do is fill up about like 16 ounces. Okay, you're going to fill it up about yay big. A couple of cups of water. Swish the seeds around. And then you're going to stick these. You're going to let them sit overnight. Yeah, you're just going to soak them. You're going to pre-soak them. You're going to get up in the morning. It's best to do it at nighttime because it's just easy that way. Get up in the morning, drain them off, let them sit at a 45-degree angle. Always keep them at a 45-degree angle, okay? You're going to see that the seeds have swelled up a bit. If you've ever cooked dry beans, same thing. You soak them overnight, they swell up, right? They're like twice the size of what they were. Same thing will happen, and it depends on what scale. Now, we got peas here, okay? Peas that have their little tails on them, right? They swelled up quite a bit. So what you want to do is once you've soaked them overnight, now you store them in a dimly lit or even dark place, okay? And each day, and you have to do this faithfully, at least, at minimum, in the morning, you rinse them a couple times. Rinse, let the water come out. Rinse them again, fill it all the way up, swish them around a little, rinse them out. Let them sit at that 45-degree angle. You don't want them in standing water, okay? Right. And then at nighttime, maybe you come home from work, you do the same thing, okay? You're still keeping them in dim to no light. You're going to do this for like the first 3 days. You're going to start to see little tails develop. And these seeds, depending on what they are, will develop at different stages. But generally, you can have sprouts in 4 days. You can, like radishes are crazy growers in the garden and wherever they are. They'll grow really fast, okay? So you can have radish sprouts in 4 days. Full.
Put them in the windowsill where the sun will go.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. As you go, like the 4th or the 5th day, this is another thing. You're going to see what looks like mold. It's got this little hairs all over it. They're cilia hairs. All it is the root developing. You're going to have the main little root right there, but then you're going to have all these little hairs growing off it. And a lot of people will panic. Oh my gosh, they have mold. They have mold. No, they don't. They just have cilia hairs. It's part of the root system. If you were to stick it in the ground, they'd become those little roots that go out. That's all it is. But, you know, you got to be careful for mold, too. You want to rinse them. You have to rinse them if you're going to do sprouts. So you do this, and it depends on what kind of seed it is, 4 or 5 days, and you'll have yourself some sprouts. Then what you can do is take them. You're always rinsing them every day, at least twice a day. You can do it more. Put them in a bowl with water, and what's going to happen is the little seed hulls are going to float to the top, and it's a little bit labor intensive, but you scoop those off and you separate them, and then you rinse your sprouts again, and you can put them in a bowl with a paper towel, and they'll last 3 days to 7 days. Watch them in your fridge, and you have sprouts. Something that will cost you $3 to $5 at the store will cost you approximately, you can get, hold on, I have the math here. I have the math, and I'll tell you a little bit about. So you can put them on salads. You can put them on sandwiches. If you don't like them, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people don't. They don't want to just eat them because they're not, you know, we're used to all these big flavors, right? They're so good for you. And that's another thing I'm going to go over. But you can stick them in a smoothie. If you do smoothies, hide them in a smoothie. They just blend right up. You'll never know they're there. But you get a 1 pound bag. All right, a 1 pound bag. And what is this? Well, this is 5 ounces. But if a 1 pound bag of, say, broccoli seeds, you get 32 cups of grown sprouts. 32 cups of sprouts. That's a lot. And this is a scant cup, I'd say, you know, because this is poor germination. But yeah, you got all kinds. You got clover, you got kale, you got radish. You can sprout grains and legumes. There's all kinds of things that you can sprout. But the thing about sprouts is they have folates, high amounts of folates, magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, vitamin C, and K. They're power-packed. This has so much nutrition in it. And that's why you're eating sprouts, is because there's a ton of nutrition in it. You can get a bunch of nutrition in these tiny little packages, right? Why not do it? If you don't like them, hide them in something, like we were saying. It's something that you can do all year round. So you can have fresh food all year round with very little effort, you know. And if you get the timing down, you can always have sprouts if you have that timing down. You know, there's mung beans, alfalfa beans. You see the mung bean sprouts are the ones we find in our Chinese food, right? If you've had Chinese food that have those sprouts, those are mung beans. It also has a high amount of protein. The protein is high for these little tiny sprouts. So for about 25 cents a day, you can have sprouts. When you can pay about, like I was saying, $3 to $5 for that same amount. So 25 cents at home or $3 to $5 in the grocery store. And you're the one that's governed how these have grown too. You know exactly how clean they are. It's a much better deal.
How do they hold up in soup?
You know, they wilt. You know, just like you would expect that they would. Yeah.
They're great on a sandwich.
But they are, yeah, they're great on a sandwich. And just like anything else in the vegetable world, most things in the vegetable world, if you cook it, you're lowering the nutrition. That's not true for some things. Potatoes will increase actually when you cook them. Some things, but more things decrease. So there's fiber and zinc, copper, selenium, so many things inside of these. They can be really filling. And like I said, broccoli is one of the most nutritionally dense sprouts that you can grow. So for a half-gallon jar, which is one of these, you put about a half a cup of sprouts, and you'll get 3 cups. You'll get 3 cups, I believe. What does it say? A jar, 3 cups. Oh, no. I was putting 3 cups of water. I was going to say that's a tiny bit. Where is the amount? If you put a half cup in. Oh, you get 8 cups of sprouts. So a half cup, yeah, you get about 8 cups. So, I mean, it's pretty great, too. Yeah. And you get different lids, okay? You got this guy. Now, this
Where you get them.
I actually got in a barn on the Rittenhouse property.
Nice.
Because they had a bunch of brand new sprouting jars out there, and they have a barn there that had all this stuff in it. And she said, "Go ahead, take them." So I got these sprouting jars for nothing, but they usually have a stainless steel. But yeah, and you can get different sizes as well. So if you have peas, and then you're not sitting there straining out these tiny little holes, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have broccoli seeds, you obviously need these. So they have 3 different sizes in the plastic ones of these. But these have rings that come out so that they're not just attached in there. You can clean them a little bit better, and they're just convenient. You can use this as a standard small mouth mason jar ring. And they make them in big and small. There's so many attachments to mason jars these days too. So, and I bought these, and this is how they come, this little package. And that's sprouting. I mean, it's really super easy. And what you do, you're going to see them get to a point where they kind of are now. They're starting to get leaves, and these leaves will be yellow. But if you just expose these to a little bit of sunlight, they're going to green up, and they're going to be beautiful. And this is a pathetic example of sprouts right here. It really is. And these take longer, so they just got their tails on them. But, I mean, these are peas. Yeah.
The broccoli would fill the jar.
Yeah, the broccoli should be filling the jar at least 3/4 of the way up. But you're going to get the tails on the peas. And these have only been going for 3 days. I think this is the 4th day.
It'll stay that way, but it continues to grow.
It'll continue to grow. Yeah. It'll continue to.
Sprouted and then sauteed a little bit with some onions and garlic. So.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is beans, lentils. When they become full sprouts, I mean, you can eat them. You could eat them at this point if you want to. But you'll see they're going to get fuller. They're going to get more plant-like. But they're not going to, they're going to get little leaves on them, just like you'd see in the store. What was I going to say? I forget. Yeah, you can saute them. You can do that stuff. I find that they break down pretty easy though. You know, they kind of just wilt down. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. There's an enzyme that is like a protectant of a lentil or a bean or a. This will take out the enzyme inhibitors, I believe. Okay. Yes. And it makes these more digestible. If you were to just cook this pea, it's more digestible as a sprouted pea. And that goes for, you know, all those things, grains and everything. Everything becomes more digestible and easier to go through our system. But you can get sprouting seeds, and you should get quality sprouting seeds. You know, this is one of the places is Country Creek Acres is where we got ours. We got a bunch of sprouting seeds. They're pretty old right now. We haven't used them, but we had them. You know, we started to see these food shortages come up, and this was an easy way to just have a little bit of fresh food on hand that's not fresh food. Easy to keep. So we bought a few of those, and they've been sitting there. But, I mean, you got cilantro. This is sunflower. This is a good sprout, a really good sprout. I like that. And I like these as microgreens, too. But so we're going to go on to microgreens. Yes. That is an air dryer. If anybody's ever heard of Temu, it was pretty cheap. Chris got it. And all you do is, you know, you put your whatever you want to dry, just stick it in there. In this case, there's comfrey, that bone knit that I was telling you guys about. It's got a little zipper here, and now it's air dried. Now we got moisture in the air, so it's a little, but this technically would be crumbly. And then you can put this inside of a coffee grinder, or if you got a high-powered blender, when it's real dry, and it'll turn into a powder. Then you can put it in a mason jar. We actually have something that goes over the mason jar lid. It's a big white cap, and it's got, you can take the air out of it. Chris actually found something about using a brake bleeder. Okay, you attach the brake bleeder hose to it, and you squeeze it, and it's pulling all the extra air out, keeps it nice and fresh. You can get some of those desiccant packs if you wanted to, stick a desiccant pack in there, keep it nice and dry, and you can have things like all of our green onions from last year. I made into green onion powder, so I can just stick them inside of salads and things. And, you know, I still got a bunch of it. I have jalapeno powder from 2016. That's still fantastic. You know, and it just, a little goes a long way. So, yeah, this is an air dryer. Well, it's another thing to do on top of it. We have an Excalibur, which is one of those 9-tray dehydrators. So we dehydrate. We're going to probably start now. I already cut that comfrey down, that border, twice. I cut it down. That comfrey will come back like crazy. It's just, and you can take just a little piece of that root and stick it in the ground, and it's like mad. It grows crazy. And there was one in the back of the garden that we planted. We didn't have room for it. It was this tall. And if it didn't hang over part of the garlic, I would have left it. And it's got these pretty little purple bell flowers on it. But you just hack it down. You can add comfrey to your compost, and it's a nice compost builder too. You can make compost tea with it. There's all kinds of things. People love comfrey. And Chris had to convince me of it. I'm like, I don't want comfrey. What's comfrey? Can I eat it? He's like, no, I don't want it. You know, if I can't eat it, I don't want it. And what's it good for? And then he started to list it. And a little over time, like, I love comfrey now. I should have listened a long time ago. All right, so we'll go on to microgreens. Microgreens are the next stage up from sprouts, except we use soil with microgreens. You're going to find these in a lot of the high-end restaurants. Maybe not even high-end, but they use them as garnish. But that little garnish has more nutrition in it than the rest of your plate, most likely. And a lot of people will just pass them over. So this is my last batch of worm casting soil, which is really nice. And what you do is you just fill up this. This is called a 10-20 tray. And my first one has holes in it. See that? That one's got holes. This one is solid underneath. You want one to catch water. One to let the roots go through. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fill up your 10-20 tray, and you can get these just about anywhere. You see them at Walmart and everywhere. These ones are from the Bootstrap Farmer. They're a heavy duty. You know, for years I got the real thin 10-20 trays, and they just kind of break down. They get holes in them. I can leave these out in the sun, which I probably shouldn't, but they hold up really well. I mean, if I really took great care of them, they'd last probably longer. But, you know, I've had them for 3 years, and they are as good as when I first got them. They're expensive.
Where did you say you got them?
Bootstrap Farmer. They have different colors. You can get pink if you want. You can get blue. There's actually a couple of baby worms in here. But what I usually do is I fill it up to about a 1/2 inch from the top-ish. It's not an exact science. Smooth it out. You try to get it as flat as possible. Oh, here comes the rain. And then there's a tray that's going to go on top of this. That's a solid. I put it on top, and I just give it a little tap around it, just so it levels it out, okay? I like the soil to be level. And then you I'm going to take some cilantro because it's open. And you can sprinkle them thin if you want, but I sprinkle them rather thick. You don't want them sitting, you know, like stacked up on top of each other. And there are websites or places online. You can go on YouTube, and they'll tell you this much per flat. You can go buy that. But I just sprinkle them out. This is cilantro seed. So you just sprinkle it. Smells good. It's coriander, right? That's all it is coriander. Here we go. It's going to start pouring. So, all right, you sprinkle it out. You got it like this. You want to bottom water. Put a couple of cups of water on the bottom. The soil will absorb from the bottom, okay? Then you want to take this tray that you flatten this out with and stick it on top, and you leave it there. You just leave it. You don't want to put it in the sun. You want these to be in a darkened situation. And what's going to happen is some people even put a cinder block on this, right? Or whatever, a brick. And those little tiny plants will push that brick up. And you'll start to see them expand, okay, in a few days. And again, it depends what kind of seed you have. And then you get to, these are peas. Now we're probably right about at where they are in the sprouting, right? They got these little tails, but these guys got soil. So they're going to start sticking their little tails down in the soil, and you're going to get a pea sprout, you know, a pea microgreen, which can get up to about that high. You know, 9 to 12 days, maybe with peas, 15, 14, and you'll have these big microgreens that you can take and put in your salad, put on whatever. But you should mist these a couple of times a day. You get a little mister. You can mist them until they start to grow up. Then you start bottom watering more. You know, a cup or two. Watch it. See what happens. Now, again, it depends what kind of seed it is. And then you get to this stage. You're going to see these are all yellow, right? Photosynthesis hasn't happened. The greening up of the sprouts hasn't happened. Yeah, the edges have seen a little bit of light, right? So you got about that length of a root on there now. This is rainbow radish, just a bunch of different kind of radish. Radish grows really fast. And this is where you might, and I don't see any right now, but you might see those cilia hairs. It almost looks like there's mold or, you know, mold all on the bottom of this. And you're like, oh no, again, it's not. It's the cilia hair. And after you get to day like 6, 5 or 6, you're going to take that top off when it starts pulling up. And then you're going to stick these. This can be in a well-lit room or on a windowsill. And they'll start to green up and get pretty. And then they turn into this.
Oh.
And I planned on making a garden salad, but somebody convinced me and said, we don't need a salad. This is all good. So I didn't, but I was going to put these on our salad. But I mean, you can, they taste like radishes.
Yeah.
That's it. And you take them, and you see they're rainbow radish. See the different colors?
Yeah.
They're a little spicy. Try them.
So you can actually eat it.
Yeah, so again, you can grow pretty much anything into microgreens too. And they're going to charge an arm and a leg in the store.
True.
And you can eat microgreens for about 49 cents a day as opposed to $4 or $5 again a day. Maybe more. For microgreens, they sell them in larger containers. You might even pay more for them. You know, it depends where you get them too. But they're really simple. And then you just go in with scissors. And this can continue to grow as you're harvesting. So you might harvest half the tray. You still got half the tray. It's still good. It just keeps growing. It's not like you have them sitting in your fridge. They've already been harvested and they're going bad. You have some living food. Some things come back. Those will not come back. Lettuces will come back. You know, green onion will come back. Wheatgrass you can get another flush of. Usually you can't just eat wheatgrass because it's hard to digest, but you can juice wheatgrass, you know, which is high in nutrition too. But again, all this stuff, highly digestible, all the same rules apply that apply to the sprouts. Highly digestible, very nutrition packed for what they are. For about a pound of seeds is about $9, and you can get, you take 20. They're saying about 25 grams of seeds per tray, and then you get 12 to 15 cups of microgreens out of that one 10 by 20 tray. So, and you get about that tray for one person will last you about 6 days if you're eating microgreens every day. So, I mean, you're getting a ton of nutrition. Again, it's great just to have them stocked away in your pantry. You got a few things. If we run into an emergency, you have fresh food. You know, you have fresh food. It's a little bit of fresh food, but it's still, you know, it's nutrient packed. And to see them green up and grow, it's kind of cool. And
Sprout or do the greens with the same seed. What's really the big difference? Texture?
say that again.
If you sprout like radishes and then you plant the radishes to make
A radish.
greens.
Yeah.
Well, to make the greens like that. What's really the difference between a sprouted radish seed and that? Just texture?
It's the same exact thing.
Just
I mean, I could take, yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Now, I could take one of these sprouts, stick it in that microgreen tray, and you're not going to be able to tell it from any other thing. It's just that you're eating that plant at different stages. That's all it is. And it's a method. Go ahead.
Which will make digestibility better and make certain nutrients easier to assimilate. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a little powerhouse of nutrition, and, you know, it's just good for you. Easy to do. And if you can't garden outside, you can garden, like I said, on your countertop. You can literally garden on your countertop. You have 6 of those trays, 2 with the holes and 4 without the holes. You can constantly have microgreens all year round, you know, and you get into a routine of doing them, you'll just always have them. So it's super easy. And then I could take...
Are these comfrey?
No, I'll get to that pretty soon, but that is not comfrey. That's lettuce. Oh. But I could take this radish right now, go stick it out in my garden. This is what you'd call a leggy seed. If you don't give a seed enough light, it becomes leggy. Now, a radish out in my garden would be this big. It would have a much thicker stem, and it would be a beefy. You know, it's beefy. It's seen some wind. Do you know wind actually will strengthen the stem of a plant? You know? So if you're growing plants like we do in our basement, I might have a fan just blowing on them lightly, so it moves them and it beefs them up. It really does. And you can see if I were to do like tomato plants in a few different ways, you'd have some that were like this and hanging over and looking real sad. And I've had tomato plants that are like this with stems on them like that. They're like, ah, you know, they're strong. And they turn into nice, strong, healthy plants. So, and I'm going to show you, this is an example of failure. Okay? This is mold. That's what mold looks like. Mold isn't so furry. It's kind of stuck a little bit more to the soil. It can get furry. Don't get me wrong. But these are those poor germination broccoli seeds. I mean, and you can smell it. It smells bad, you know. It smells bad. But I wanted to save this so you could see what failure looks like. That's what failure looks like. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to show too, when you're growing seedlings, feel this hockey puck. Feel it. You pass it around. Feel how hard that is. All that is peat moss that's been compressed into a little bag. You put water in it and it pops up to this. These are Jiffy plugs. I usually don't use Jiffy plugs, but we bought a case of them when we're probably a little maybe 3 or 4 years into our marriage. We bought a whole box of them, and I still have like 400 of them. So I figured, all right, I'll use them for the lettuce. They have that little divot in there. They swell up in like 15 minutes, a half hour into these little plugs. Then you take this one seed, put it in. This is a lettuce. And because it was sitting on the 1020 train, it was against all the other guys. You see how I was talking about the roots? Will come through this bag. Roots are strong enough to come through a bag. Even those bags over there, those bags with the potatoes in them, the roots are strong enough to come through those bags, but they just don't want to because they don't want to see the light. So where they haven't seen light, they pop through. Now you could take this and stick it right into the ground the way it is, but they say this is biodegradable. Maybe in so many years, but if I did this the first year and I was pulling these little nettings out of my garden, the next few years I was finding them. So what I usually do will peel them off. I usually don't let them get too long. I would have already planted this little guy, but this is a Salanova lettuce, which is an expensive seed, but the best lettuce. It's like this. And it's dense. It's got 3 times the amount of lettuce leaves. It's been bred to have more leaves. Bred, doesn't mean it's a bad thing that it's been bred. And it's just a beautiful hardy lettuce. And it becomes a head of lettuce this big. And you can cut it and it will all stay together. Or you can cut it a little higher. All the leaves will fall off and it becomes leaf lettuce. But this is our favorite lettuce. So sometime soon I'll go out and plant them and we'll have a bunch. But that little puck. And I grow
It's called Salanova.
Salanova. And I grow in, and this is something that didn't end up growing, but I grow in nursery bags. You can get these in different sizes. They tear, okay? You can tear them right open. But this also does air pruning. So when I plant that seed in there, that root's not going to come out unless it's against another plant or against a solid thing where it knows it has no light. But other than that, it won't. So you like these? Sorry. These are really struggling watermelons. They should have been planted quite a while ago. But do you see any roots coming through? There's a big root system in here. But they're not going to come through. I mean, this guy's hurt and it really should have been planted. But this is an so sweet watermelon. Yeah, this is a watermelon plant. These are the tendrils I was talking about. See these curly little things? They'll dry up. Yeah. But yeah, I like these because they're super cheap. I can get like 300 of them for like $7. And, off you go. I fill these up with soil and I don't have to replant them again. Some people pot up. No, I will tear the bag off. They say they're biodegradable, but not very biodegradable. But and you got to be careful with the roots of a watermelon. It doesn't like its roots disturbed, so I tear it carefully, and then you just peel it off and you just stick it in the ground, put your amendments around it, and off you go. You're done.